All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Occupy Fantasy YouTube channel. We're here tonight for some DFS Golf, DraftKings, and FanDuel PGA picks, lineup advice for the Wells Fargo Championship 2021. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy, and we're going to be here for about 30 minutes or so tonight, breaking down the PGA DFS slate, both FanDuel and DraftKings, talking about the top plays, betting market analysis, projected ownership, and of course, lineup strategies to take down the biggest contest on both sites. So if you have questions throughout the next 30 minutes, make sure you hop in the live chat, ask them. You guys will primarily drive this discussion. We'll talk about some top plays from the Daily Plug, talk about the big betting market moves throughout the week, and again, finish off with some lineup strategies for both FanDuel and DraftKings. Yeah, we got Ken in the chat, says nice hat. So this was a hat from the DraftKings Championship Series. They sent it along in the live finals package for the Fantasy Hockey World Championship. Not entirely sure I deserve it. Probably should set it on fire after finishing dead last in the hockey contest out of 40 entrants. But yeah, just to touch on that a little bit, we haven't really talked about it, but yeah, I played a very high risk approach in the hockey contest. I knew exactly what the field was going to do and pinpointed that, and went with a leveraged approach. Both stacks in my hockey lineup in Saturday's championship were unowned by any other player in the contest. So if they went off, I had a clear path to the top, which is basically what I wanted. I think they combined for 2 goals. My goalie allowed more than my stacks combined for. So not a great recipe for success. All the chalk went off. But again, it goes to show that you can't control the outcome. But as long as you can predict what the field is going to do accurately, you're going to come out ahead over the long run. Just unfortunately, you only have one or two chances a year like that, like I did in the Fantasy Hockey World Championship. But we move on. We're on the PGA DFS this week. We're looking to get some big tickets on both sites. We have the Players Championship here in a couple weeks. Make sure you guys are looking to get satellite tickets. The 20th is the next big major. Both FanDuel and DraftKings are offering a ton of satellite tickets. FanDuel of the $9 variety. They also have, I forget what it's called, the Mega Eagle, and there's a bigger one, $200 or $300. And of course, DraftKings has the Millionaire Maker, and for those baller bankroll tiers, the 4444 Mega Millionaires. But again, tons of satellites in the lobby, so go check it out. Before we get started here, make sure you click that subscribe button below the video. Get access to our videos as soon as they're released here on YouTube, and give us a thumbs up if you like this video. We always appreciate that. So this is the Daily Plug at OccupyFantasy.com. It's written by Niramata, our PGA DFS expert on staff. He won $100,000 in a PGA DFS contest in late March. And I got to say, by looking at the cover photo of the Daily Plug, it may surprise a lot of people. This field is pretty stacked. We have a lot of the top players in the world in this event. And seeing Justin Suh, who was a late qualifier for the event, as the cover boy may surprise you some. And we'll talk about him here in a second. So as we scroll down, remember the Daily Plug is at OccupyFantasy.com for members only. We're going to give you a little peek behind the paywall for this episode, for this live stream. But the most important aspect of the Daily Plug, in my mind, I guess there are two big important aspects. One is this betting market moves analysis that Niramata comes in and updates every Wednesday. Looks at Pinnacle Sports, one of the sharpest sports books in the world, see how odds to win have moved throughout the week, and we get these steam moves for some of the sharpest plays in the betting markets. A lot of times this translates over to DFS. And over the last 5 weeks or so, I've had guys in my core, in my 150 lineups from this exact list, and I've had the winner in my core for the last 5 weeks. This line moves list is very predictive, and it's definitely where you want to get a good amount of exposure from, no matter what contest type you're playing, and no matter how many lineups you are making. So Brandon has a question, and I guess you do see it here, but Matthew Neesmith, a 55% move at Pinnacle, which means his odds have been reduced by 55%, which is a good thing. And if you're in our Discord channel, which if you're not already, make sure you click join below this video to get access. Niramata came in with his 9 p.m. Wednesday update in Discord, and Neesmith got hit again, 80%, which is just a massive move. He's at like 35 to 1 now there. No other book really has him like below 100 to 1. So really confounding move. A lot of moves are like that this week at Pinnacle, really tough to nail down. I don't know the answer, Brandon, why he's getting that big of money, at least at Pinnacle, when no other sites, no other books are really moving his line that much. But I do know the model likes Neesmith a decent amount, as it always does. I'll have him in my player pool. If you're looking for someone in that price range, I think we have to trust the betting markets here, trust the model, and get him in there. Not saying he's a must play by any means, but again, in a field of 150 golfers, we're looking at reasons to play guys. When the model and the betting markets align, it's a pretty good reason. But as far as the underlying factors, I don't know the answer. And it's okay to say that. A lot of times we don't know the answer, especially on these betting market moves. Many times we have no idea why the line is moving. But it's kind of in the same vein of just following what sharp people do. Instead of spending all your time researching every little factor about every little player, if you can find sharp bets that people are making or what sharp DFS players are doing, like Niramata, just spend your time following those guys. And Neesmith certainly fits that criteria. So speaking of these line moves, I mean, just an insane amount of moves this week. Again, this is at Pinnacle Sports from early in the week until now, the biggest line moves. And we've seen this the last couple of weeks where we have a big handful of line moves because Pinnacle has been pricing up every single golfer in the field. If you were with us even earlier this year, but especially last year, Pinnacle was only pricing up 70 golfers or so, 60 golfers or so. So we wouldn't even see line moves on those guys towards the back end of the field. But now, as of the last month or two, they've literally been putting odds to win on every single golfer in the field for every event. As a result, we'll see some moves at guys near the bottom of the salary range. Pat Perez is one. I think he's 7K on DraftKings, and he's seen a 46% move. So if you're playing a stars and scrubs approach, or you're playing a couple of guys at the top of the price range, you're going to need some guys in that upper 6K to lower 7K range to fill in. Guys like Pat Perez, 7K. And then where's Aaron Wise? Yeah, Aaron Wise is another one. The model's all over Aaron Wise, and he has a big 40% move as well. So you're looking for guys down at the bottom of the salaries here to fit him in. Those are two guys I would look forward to. So Ken has a great question about Patrick Cantlay. Let's go over to the Occupy model, which if you're not familiar, it is OccupyFantasy.com. Ranks every golfer for both FanDuel and DraftKings. And Patrick Cantlay is the #1 rated golfer in our model. We got it on screen here. But he's projected for just 6% ownership. And if you look at the inner workings of the model and just a little peek behind the curtain here, we're looking at the last 50, 100, 200 rounds. A lot of long-term form here for golfers. And Cantlay over the last year or so, obviously he's a world-class player, but in recent weeks hasn't played that well. And we know that there's a lot of recency bias in PGA DFS. We look at a guy like, the name is slipping my mind here. He had 2 weeks back-to-back in March, and he hadn't done anything in a long time. Name is totally slipping my mind here, but he hadn't done anything in a while. Then he was competing throughout the weekend and finished second or top 3. And the very next week, he was 15% owned, despite only having one good week over the last however many months or even years. So Cantlay, with all these other studs in action, guys like John Rahm, guys like JT, Xander, Bryson, Rory, like all of the big guns are in here. And if a guy's not in good recent form, he's going to see a dip in ownership. So if you're playing the leverage angle of long-term form, long-term ceiling over recent form, that's a great leverage play. And again, it's probably reserved for large field contests only, but I do like that move. And we know a lot of top PGA DFS players do play leverage spots like this. Jet Black X, who's probably, I don't know how many of you know Jet Black X, but probably the top high stakes PGA DFS player. And if someone is watching this that doesn't agree, let me know. But a lot of times he takes stands like this. And one of his go-to moves is playing low-owned studs. And Patrick Cantlay, you're not going to get Cantlay at 6% ownership very often, if ever. So if you're playing that angle, it makes a lot of sense this week. Let me see here. All right, so we talked about Cantlay. We talked about his 6% ownership. Let's go back to the line move section of the Daily Plug, the Wednesday update. Some other guys that we're looking at here. And again, if you're playing recent form, recency bias, you're going to think there's no way in hell I'm playing these guys. Russell Henley didn't even make the cut last week. Keith Mitchell, who literally had the worst putting performance in PGA DFS history, like literally ever in a single round. And that's not hyperbole, that's not exaggeration. Literally had the worst putting performance of all time. I'm going to scroll down here because, and I know this and I followed this because he was a top play in the PGA DFS plug last week. Pretty cheap. Made the cut. Got to that point where we're like, wow, we're rolling. We got a low-owned guy make the cut. And then I'm actually going to scroll down here because every week in the daily plug, the nice thing about it, Niramata comes in above the paywall, talks about his picks from the previous week. Full transparency. Keith Mitchell, despite this god-awful putting performance, still scored 4 points above expectation last week. He lost nearly 9 strokes putting, which, again, is unheard of. Last week, 9 strokes. A bad round is like 2 strokes. Like an unheard of round is like 3 strokes. He lost 3 times that amount. I mean, look at all the putts he missed within 15 feet. 11, 6.5, 6, 6, 7, 5. Like, just unfathomable. Hopefully he corrected his putter. At least someone at Pinnacle thinks he did, as he got a 40% odds to win move. So again, we'll be back to the well there. No, Brandon, literally the worst. He was like the worst putting performance you could ever imagine in PGA history was last week, Keith Mitchell. I don't know if you can fix that quickly. I don't know if your head can get out of that space that quickly. He was like 11 over on Sunday. So, but again, someone out there must either know something or thinks he can bounce back or playing the math. But Keith Mitchell got the move. Henley got the move. I mean, a lot of guys here that, haven't played well recently. Rory, we talked about last time we saw him at the Masters, didn't make the cut. So a lot of leaps of faith here, which I'm fine with. Large field contest, we're looking for 2 sub 5% guys, looking for 2 sub 10% guys or sub 15%. Like, we're fine making leaps of faith. And that leap of faith, if it's going to be on a Pinnacle line move, like, I'm all for it. So let's see. We talked about the line moves already. We talked about the top of the model, low-owned stud angle play of the week. We still got 17 minutes left. We'll be here till about 10:30 p.m. Eastern. If you have any questions about PGA DFS strategy in general, picks for this week, players to talk about this week, go ahead and hop in the chat and ask it. We got Billy in the chat. What's up, man? One of Occupy's first ever members. So what's up, Billy? He said he felt cringy watching Mitchell. Yeah, I didn't see it, thankfully. I couldn't even imagine. I would have broken my putter by the 4th or 5th hole. Like, the 3rd or 4th time I missed a putt inside 7 feet, I would have snapped the shit over my knees. Like, let's just be honest here. How he managed to keep a putter intact for 18 holes is probably more impressive than the actual number he put up. So let me get a drink of water here, and we'll continue the show. A lot of people tune in for the trifecta plays. These are plays that we determine that have overlap between Pinnacle's line moves, so a sharp betting play, a daily plug play, which means Niramata, PGA DFS Pro, has the contacts, the ears to the ground. He likes them as well. And then the cherry on top, the model, which is purely analytical, no context, pure math, also likes them. And we have 3 plays this week that qualify. 2 of which are of the stud variety, high owned, that anchors to your lineup 15% or higher ownership. And we do have one that's 10% owned, or roughly 10%, so that middle tier. The 3 plays are, scroll up. Number 1 is Jon Rahm, who, if you look here at the Pinnacle misprice list, if we price golfers on DraftKings based on their odds to win at Pinnacle instead of their DraftKings salary, we get big differences. These are true values. You see DFS pros and low-risk PGA contests hammer these types of values every single week. Jon Rahm is technically the most mispriced golfer on the entire slate, which is crazy considering he is. Let's go back to the model real quick. I mean, he's 10-8, right? Which is, there's not much room to be mispriced there, but he should be the highest priced golfer on the slate, and by a decent margin, with plus 900 odds to win. Let's go back here. So Jon Rahm, going to be popular, but Niramata likes him. The betting markets like him. The Occupy model likes him. That's one. The other high-owned play is Joaquin Niemann. He is also a value, I believe. Scroll down. Yep, 23% value. Got a 36% line move at Pinnacle. Niramata wrote him up as a high-owned anchor to target in your lineups. And our Occupy model likes him as well. So that's 2 trifecta plays. Generally, when we have this type of alignment, we talk about it in UFC DFS too, right? If you tune into our Saturday shows or you read the UFC Daily Plug, when we have the analytical method, the model, with the context tape method of UFC, when we have those alignments, those are smash plays. Similar with these trifecta plays in PGA DFS, when you have 3 different areas telling you that a player is a good play, let's load up on them. Ideally, we get the low owned, right? That's tough to find. If so many different sources like a guy, it's hard to be low owned. The closest we can get this week is Patrick Reed, who's 17%. I think missed the cut last week, right? But he qualifies. Niramata wrote him up. Our model surprisingly likes him. Our model is usually not a big fan of Patrick Reed, but it did identify something this week for this course, and he got the pinnacle line move. And he's going to be lower owned than both than Rahm and Neiman. Let's go back to the model here. If we sort by projected ownership, yeah, Patrick Reed 10% on both sites, whereas Rahm we expect 24% FanDuel, 18% DraftKings. Neiman, the 5th highest projected, 18% on FanDuel, 15% on DraftKings. So those are the 3 guys that really have full alignment from the betting markets, from the plug, and the Occupy model. Billy says putting with a wood might have helped. Yeah, shout out Siwoo Kim, who during the Masters broke his putter and had to putt with a, 3-wood? And surprisingly held his own for the remainder of that round. Yeah, maybe Keith Mitchell should have done that. All right, let's see. Swaglord Ken says, how about a winner, a favorite play, a fade, and a guy that you're playing that we shouldn't? It's a really good question. Love answering this question every week because I definitely have guys in my player pool that you probably shouldn't play every single week. So the winner for me, I'm going to say, I'll go with, it's a good question here, but I'm going to take my time and answer this one. For the winner, I'm going to say Joaquin Neiman. I'll give Neiman the win here. He's the top of all the trifecta plays, so I'll go Joaquin Neiman. He is 30-1, so go bet that if you want. Favorite play for me is probably Aaron Wise, and again, probably not going to win the tournament, but close to a trifecta play. The model likes him. The betting market moves like him. If we look here, I'm just going to sort by OF index. Again, giving you a peek behind the curtain here, behind the paywall, the Occupy model. Aaron Wise ranks in the top 15 or so, despite his $7,100 price tag. And at just 8% ownership, he's a guy that you can play a ton of, get leverage, help get you access to those high-price studs. So Aaron Wise is probably my favorite play for that reason alone. A fade, I'm actually not playing Corey Connors this week, which is, pretty sad because the model was always on Corey Connors. The model was ahead of the Corey Connors hype before he started playing really, really well. But not the week this week. Too many other guys I like in that range, and the model surprisingly isn't on him like it normally is. So I'll take the hint, not playing Corey Connors this week. And then guy that I am playing that we shouldn't. I guess, we haven't talked about him yet, but I guess the qualifier here is probably the plug cover boy, which, just in a vacuum, not the best play in the world, 6,100. But let's scroll down to Niramata's reasoning. And again, this is behind the paywall, but I'll give you a peek because it is his top listed golfer to play this week. The big reason for me, similar to Aaron Wise, like the things that he opens up in your lineup is unbelievable. If he makes the cut, you're in business for most contest types. If he somehow approaches top 20, now you're in business to take down a GPP, assuming you get the other 5 guys across the cut. So, and just a little insight here. I was talking with Niramata before the show. He has way more stud than I'm even comfortable with, which is saying a lot. So if you're interested in that, check out Niramata's exposures when contest live tomorrow. But the thing is, so he was a late qualifier, late add to this contest, which means they always go overlooked. Late ads always go overlooked as far as ownership goes. We project him 1 to 2% ownership. Love that. The thing is here, he has a high ceiling long term. He was being talked about in the same breath as Matthew Wolff, Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland. We know Morikawa, major champion, won many times on tour. Hovland, the highest owned projected golfer this week for this tournament. Wolff was playing well for a while, has really fell off the cliff here, but the fact is he has a long-term ceiling. And even better, and this is why we love reading the Daily Plug with Niramata's context, Suh is playing for a spot on the tour. This is his last sponsor's exemption, and he's got to finish 8th or better in this contest in order to get enough FedEx points to get temporary status and get more automatic starts. 8th is a lofty goal, but he's going to be grinding as hard as he's going to have full focus. And again, 6,100 mispriced for his long-term ceiling, and really affords you a lot of openings in your lineup. Again, not a fully accomplished player, but there's a reason he's priced where he is. So I don't know if it really qualifies as a player that I'm playing that you shouldn't, because I do think if you're playing large field contests, you should certainly consider him. But just realize there's obviously risk, right, in a 1% owned $6,100 play. So let's see. Kyle in the chat, not seeing much on Tringale for how well he's finished the past couple of months. Yeah, again, this is another guy that the model was on before he started, really taking off. The Triangle Man, who just if you've been around for a while, you've been an occupied member, you've accessed the model for a while. Triangle has been at the top, near the top, despite having lower price tags, but he's really come on the last, few months. But again, something in our models telling us this week that he's not the guy that we're looking for. The course doesn't fit him for whatever reason. The betting markets aren't really saying much about him. All's quiet out there from, bettors I respect from other models. I guess he's technically a decent play at 8,400, kind of a low risk play. Should make the cut, maybe not threaten. But again, like Corey Connors, here's a guy that, I've been jamming in every single week when the model's been telling me to. But this week, I'm off him. I'm barely playing the Triangle Man, barely playing Corey Connors. Again, I don't think he's a bad play. I just think there are much better plays this week. And there are better spots to play them in at lower ownership. So I hope that answers that. All right, it's 10:23. We'll be here for 7 more minutes. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're not already. Something like 60% of our viewers aren't subscribed, which is nuts to me. So make sure you subscribe. Get access to our videos as soon as they're released here on YouTube. We might do an NBA stream either tomorrow or Friday. Stay tuned for that. But if not, we'll definitely be here on Saturday for UFC DFS. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. The more thumbs ups we get, that lets us know that we should continue to make this type of content. So if you like the PGA DFS streams, click thumbs up on the video. That'll let us know to continue to do these on Wednesday nights. This is a good topic of conversation here. So Ken's in the chat. If you're not familiar with Ken, he's in our Discord. He's our League of Legends Daily Plug writer, Occupy Fantasy staff member. He pointed out that, what's his name? Abnormal Distribution or something, a big DFS player, a big PGA DFS bettor. I mean, the dude was so deep in the PGA DFS, he lived on like the Canadian border in a shack for 2 years just to get the best odds. He just put out a podcast like 2 hours long. If you're very interested, if you're trying to go into the deep end and listen to PGA DFS talk, go listen to his podcast. We'll put it in Discord. If Ken, you can put it in the Discord channel later today. But I guess he likes Rory and he likes Ricky Fowler this week. Maybe he's the guy that's been betting Ricky every single week. If you've been reading the plug line moves, whoever has just gone bankrupt betting Ricky Fowler every single week. I don't know who it is. Maybe it's Abdist. But yeah, Rory's a guy this week, low owned stud angle, hasn't been playing well. No one really wants to play him. I like that call as well. Jeffrey Wilson, thoughts on Cameron Davis this week? Yeah, I think he's a guy that for his long-term ceiling or his average, if you look at projections, he'll rank relatively well based on his ownership. I think he has the highest ownership of anyone in that price range. Let's go back to the model and sort by ownership. Matt Wallace, Barner. Yeah, Cam Davis, 7,100. Anyone that's 7K range, he's the highest projected owned. I think other sites have him as a decent value. We have him as a decent play, but nothing else really tells us that he's a great play. So I think in low risk contests, he's probably a guy, if you're looking for that range, play him. I still prefer Aaron Wise. But high risk contests, I think he's an easy fade at that price. We have other guys we like in that area. So for tournaments, I won't be playing a ton of Cameron Davis. But the reason for his ownership is because of his raw projections from other sites. So yeah, Jeff, if you missed the conversation 10 minutes ago, we just talked about Justin Suh. He will not be chalk. I mean, we expect him to be 1 to 2% owned. Again, a very high risk play, but I think the rewards vastly outweigh the risk there based on not only just his long-term ceiling and what's at stake for him in this particular tournament, but also what he allows you to do with the rest of your lineup. He literally allows you to get two of Rahm and Xander, Rahm and Bryson, like all those guys at the top. He allows you to get two of those and feel comfortable about the rest of your lineup. So he will not be chalk. He'll be, again, 1 to 2%. But we're playing him heavy at Occupy. So if you want to ride the train and follow us, go for it. Let's see, 10:27, 3 minutes left. Let's rapid fire. Final questions about PGA DFS strategy. Questions for this week. Let's get them in the chat. We'll get them answered before we get out of here. As always, make sure you check out the lineup strategy section of the daily plug. Let's go back to the plug here. Not going to scroll down. Not going to give away all the goods on stream. But read the lineup strategy section. And again, the Occupy Fantasy lineup construction that we've back tested and researched, it hits nearly every single week for those large field contests. You can modify it for smaller contests and satellites, but really you want to minimize the number of high-owned players you have, get 1 to 3 in there, and you want to get at least one low-owned guy, sub 5% in your lineup. If you're playing large field, get 2 in there, and then fill in the rest with that in between, that 5 to 15% range. Tried and true method to get to the top of leaderboards. So Jeff doesn't believe that Sud's going to be 1 to 2%. Yeah, we'll be willing to bet. I mean, he won't be above 10%. Maybe in sharp contests, but yeah, certainly willing to bet. We got him literally 2% ownership as of our last projection update about an hour ago. So we'll see. Our projected ownership for PJ has been spot on. I doubt he gets that high. We'll see. Okay, 10:28. We're about to get out of here. Final questions. Trifecta plays for the week are John Rahm, Joaquin Neiman, Patrick Reed for a little bit lower ownership. Tons of line moves. Check out the Discord for more line moves that Nirmata put in. Just a couple more guys got hit. Ken says Zalatoris fade. I'll be playing him some. I think he's in a good spot. The biggest question for Zalatoris is the hangover after the Masters, right? Finished second at the Masters. I don't think he's played since. Can he get his mind right for this tournament? A lot of sharp bettors like him. A lot of projection systems like him. He'll be projected pretty highly owned. I'll be playing him. I think he's worth the price, worth the ownership, and as the high owned anchor of some of my lineups, he'll be in there. So I'll be using some Zalatoris. All right. So Jeff is very adamant about this, typing in all caps. We appreciate the enthusiasm, Jeff. Best of luck to you. $1,000 says he's over 10%. Send it, Jeff. You know where to find me. We can make that bet. So that'll do it for the show. If you also want to bet $1,000 or more on Justin Suh's ownership, hit me up on Twitter at BrianJesterFF, or hit me up in Discord. Click the join button right below the video. Get access to our Discord channel. Talk with Occupy staff and other OccupyFantasy.com members about DFS strategy, plays for all daily fantasy sports. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube, the Occupy Fantasy YouTube channel. Get access to our videos as soon as we go live or upload any new content here on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up to let us know that you like this content. Again, we might be back Thursday or Friday for NBA, but in all likelihood, we'll definitely be back on Saturday for UFC DFS discussion. So Brian from Occupy Fantasy, at Occupy Fantasy on Twitter, OccupyFantasy.com for all your DFS content needs. Appreciate you listening. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.